Time for sound design. The picture you just saw is the inside photo of the Dr. Dre album 2001 from 1999. And on this picture, you see him standing together with Melman, the co-producer of the album, in a room full of vinyl records. And on the table, you can see an MPC2000, an SP1200, a keyboard, which I actually don't know which one it is, a DJ mixer, and a Technics turntable. And the reason why I show you this picture is because this is the first time I have seen a MPC. I didn't know what it was at the time. Only years later I found out it is an MPC3000 and there are different models of MPC. And eventually that led to me buying an MPC2000XL. And in this video I will talk about the 3 reasons why I still like to use the Akai MPC2000XL. Maybe in previous videos you have seen it behind me. There's my turntable and it was on that bench. Now it's next to me. It's easier to work with. Besides that, I will play some beats that I made entirely on the MPC as little interludes to this video. So stay tuned also for some music. Before we get into the reasons, let's start with some facts on the MPC2000XL. So as with this album, the MPC2000XL was released in 1999. It comes standard with 2 megabytes of RAM memory and it's expandable to 32. That's the one that I have is expanded. It's a MIDI sequencer and sampler. It doesn't have any effects. There is an optional expansion board for effects, but I don't have that one. So you can basically sample audio in, you can chop it up, can sequence it. You can also sequence external MIDI gear with the sequencer. But the possibilities once you have a sample in the machine are limited. There is a low pass filter. There's a simple envelope, an attack decay envelope. And there's a bunch of other things you could do. You can, for instance, tune samples. You can play them chromatically as well on the pads. You can hook up a MIDI keyboard. The standard edition comes with a floppy disk. So I'm still using floppies to save my beats to the floppy drive. A floppy disk holds 1.4 megabytes of memory, so that's not a lot. Yeah, and one of the key features of the MPC is the 16 pads, so they're velocity sensitive pads. So you can there is a step editing mode, but in the main thing how to sequence stuff is just put the metronome on and in real time sequence drums and other elements. All right, let's get to the 3 reasons why I like to use the Akai MPC in 2023. So the first reason is that it makes you focus on sound selection and composition rather than sound design. So this is a bit of a weird statement maybe for if you have watched my previous videos, many of them are about sound design and how you can transform a sound from any instrument or object into something completely different. With the MPC, it's more about what kind of sounds do you put into it. So what are you going to sample? Are you sampling from vinyl, like a drum hit? Are you sampling a loop? Are you sampling other instruments like synthesizers or guitars? And once you have the sound in the MPC, it is limited what you can do. You have to be very thoughtful about what you're going to sample and how you sample it. And once it's in the MPC, you can create sequences, you can compose, you can create melodic elements, but it's a lot about what sounds you have in the MPC and how you're gonna sequence them into a pattern or a track. And because it is limited, it makes you focus. So you're unlike in Ableton or any other DAW where you can really drift off and start with like a tiny sound and then build an entire soundscape or a track around it. Here you are focused. So that's the first reason. to why I like to use the MPC in 2023 is that you can build muscle memory. So once you get to know this machine, there's a little bit of a learning curve, and it really helps if you read the manual to understand how the structure is between the tracks and the samples and the programs and the modes. But once you know that, you can really get fluent on this machine. There's a lot of knobs that do certain things. There is a screen, it's a small screen. There are some menus and some sort of hidden menus, but not as much as in a computer. So once you've learned it, you can really be fast. You can really fast sample something, chop it up, sequence it, and muscle memory is the second reason why I like to use this hardware device. And then the third reason why I like to use the MPC2000XL is that you are forced to be economical. So what I mean with that is that it forces you to come to the point, because especially in my case where I use floppies that can only contain 1.4 megabytes of sound, you have to be very intentional and thoughtful about what sound you're going to need to make a beat. While you can have many tracks, there are 64 MIDI tracks that you can sequence your samples on, you have to get to the point in terms of sound. So you can't have very long loops, so you can have a lot of short sounds or one long sound, but then you run out of memory basically. And this is a common sort of pitfall of using Ableton or similar DAWs, where you can have infinite amount of samples, infinite amount of tracks and instruments, and sometimes instead of reducing or reworking what you have, you're just gonna add more and pile onto it, and the song doesn't necessarily get better from that. So that is something that the MPC definitely forces you to think about what sounds do you actually need and what sounds are maybe unnecessary. That's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed the beats that I played. I'm planning to make more videos on the MPC where I also deconstruct some of the tracks I've made. I will also talk about techniques that I use to sample and sequence. Let me know if you use an MPC2000XL or any other MPC, how you use it in your productions, and see you in the next one.